Hey everyone, welcome to Anarchapulco TV, your home for the world's premier Liberty Conference happening very soon in Acapulco, Mexico. I'm your host, David Rodriguez, and we have a special guest joining us today, someone who's a first-time attendee and speaker at Anarchapulco, but she's bringing a really important aspect of freedom, which we haven't had the last 5 years, and that is the legal aspect, the lawful, the courts, all the paperwork, the magical fairy dust that the state just assumes that you're liable for, and we fall into it. So her name is Jacquie Figg, and she helps people unhook from the state, and she's founder of idpsolutions.org. So welcome to the show, Jacquie.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm super excited about coming. It is my first time, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I was glad we got to meet kind of indirectly at the Narca Vegas last year.
Yes.
And so this is a kind of a testament. When you go to these freedom events, you never know who you're going to meet. And if you're looking for something, a lot of times you find that person or know somebody who knows somebody. And that's what happened here. This has really been needed in Anarchapulco. And so she's bringing this component of it. So for the people who don't know you, we just show a little bit about who you are and your background, and we'll get into some of the really cool solutions that you do have.
Sure. So my mom always said I was kind of born for this. I was born on a Friday at 4:20 p.m., which is when school gets out in England. And of course, we also know what 4:20 signifies. So that was kind of the beginning of the end. It was kind of downhill from there. I organized my first sit-in when I was pretty young, and then got uniforms banned at school. So I've kind of always been in a little radical. Anyway, so when I came here, when I saw the Waco event, what was that, around 95, 96?
Yeah.
Sometime around that time. That was really horrific. That was a big eye-opener for me. Yeah. And, I mean, I cried. Watching that, I was just so upset. And, I just thought it was disgusting. And at that point, I just wanted to get out of the system and get away from the system. It took another few more years with my own problems. I started out with a trash problem and realized that it wasn't just a local problem. It's actually an international problem. And you find all these laws that apply that aren't local to you and you would never know about unless you had a problem. So it started out with trash problems, ended up with traffic problems. You name it, I had it. So I call them a rash. When you're an activist, particularly, when you start pushing buttons, you will have the system come down on you. So my children got picked on. That's when you start to really see the county. The county is being, keeping the count, if you like, on the family that's there. If you think about how the county comes into your life, it could be via a hospital. It's definitely via schools. Traffic citations. It just touches your life in so many ways that people don't realize. And, I'm kind of a funny person. So I would notice that I would go into places, I'm pretty lively, they would be really nice. And then all of a sudden they would pull my file and you would see their faces change. So that's when I started to really, keep track of that kind of stuff. And it was as simple as changing counties. When I changed to another county, even my children noticed a big difference. So it afforded me a huge opportunity to learn about the attachments that are just within the state. And within the state, in this state is a very big functional, that's the forum where everything happens. So
yeah. Awesome. Well, like you, I also, caused some trouble, as a young child, but I think a lot of people do, I'm not alone, especially in the Anarchapulco community. It's like, we just want to be let alone, in the 12 years of mandatory school. You mentioned the counting, the taxes, the rules of driving and traveling. And this is some of the areas that I'm getting into now, which, you helped share some knowledge for me to like, oh man, there's different ways to go about it. So maybe just start at kind of the beginning of, what's the basic proposition you have for people? Because I know you've been doing it for over 10 years and, we've all had run-ins with the law. We try to do these things in court. We're like, what are we doing? So can you share from like the basic level, like what do you do for people and how do you explain it for people who are like, man, what do you do?
Yeah, one of the first things we look at is safety and security. The idea is to create a safety environment and hence the bridge solutions. I call them bridge solutions. They're not the ideal way that things should be run. We shouldn't have to need any of this stuff. They are merely solutions that allow you to operate with the system, but not be part of it. So the very first thing we look at is security and safety. We look at getting you and your things in a safe environment, moving stuff out of your name before you poke the bear. You know, there's a lot of people that want to jump into freedom. It does cause a lot of problems, you know, having people running around with no driver's license, no registration. 9 times out of 10, you will be pulled over. I was fined for 2 years. I know a lot of people that are fined, but it's more or less a matter of time and just hitting the wrong, you know, officer on the wrong day, and you could find your world upside down all of a sudden. People lose, you know, the right to travel. I mean, I'm happy to give that up, but for somebody who works and is providing for a family, it can really rock their world. So we look at safety and security first, getting them and their stuff in a safe environment, and then we look at unhooking from the system. If you have children at school, that's really difficult. So there are various hooks that keep you into the system, and so I want to share those when in Acapulco. I'm going to go over exactly what ties you into the system, how the layers of the system work, why you can't do certain things when you're in a certain layer, how they keep their hooks on you. And so, you know, once you understand what these things are, then it's a lot easier to unhook. And then what we need to do is build something new, right? The whole idea of Anarchapulco this year is evolve. We need to evolve into a new system. Absolutely. And so that's what I like. Creating bridge solutions, bridge systems, and ultimately creating I don't want to call it a system because I don't know what it's going to be yet. It will be whatever we want it to be. It hasn't been created. We have never explored outside the pillar and the post. And that is the pillar of the priest and the post of the king. They have been herding us through those two spots, through tithings, taxes, I mean, laws and religion. And every time we try and stray beyond those two, they use some systemic part of the system anyway to drag us back in, usually tithings, taxes, and law and religion. So I'm excited. I don't know what it's going to look like. And all I know is we need to resonate at a higher frequency, and we need to inspire people to make mistakes. Don't worry that we don't know yet. Try, stumble. We just want you to be safe when you stumble. And that's the whole idea of our system.
Yeah. That is beautiful. Yeah, because a lot of people, and this is another conversation that the founder of Jeff Berwick just had with a gentleman named Paymon, who is going to be talking about the IRS. And he has something called the Freedom Law School. It's been going on for over 20 years. And he's like, people are so afraid, but it's like, this is for freedom. You know, like what else is there? This is, you know, really important. So people, there's a natural fear of IRS. There's a natural fear of the state. And I like the idea, which you mentioned, the bridge solutions, you know, because I'm also exploring these ideas, you know, like the right to travel. Yes, we do have that, but then these guys are brainwashed thugs, many of them. I'm sure there's some nice police guys out there somewhere, but they get their salary from the state, they get their pension from the state, their health benefits, all these things. And so unlike a true protector like Dale Brown, who puts his life on the line, they think, I got to get back home to my family tonight. Whereas a true hero says, I will lay down my life out there trying to save people, you know, and this is the transition, you know, and you mentioned evolve. It really is that, you know, last year was Life Unchained, kind of get the ideas. And the first few years it was like, you know, fuck the government and these things. And there's still validity to those phrases and energies. But then the last few years, the meme or the energy has been the Buckminster Fuller quotes. We have to create a new model that makes the old model obsolete. So, you know, here's mass tyranny and here's ideal voluntary world. So how do we get there and reduce the amount that we're giving these thugs and reduce the harm that we do to our body or our property? So it's really interesting to, you know, learn about what you're talking about and understand like safety and security is super important.
Yeah.
So where do you start with people? Do you start with the driver's license, or you start with the plates, you start with bank accounts, the entities? You don't have to go over the whole talk now because this is going to be a short conversation, but I just want people to understand that what Jacquie's bringing to the stage is really important. And, you know, whether it's the financial aspect, which, you know, I know people who have their bank accounts frozen. I mean, the state, this is a criminal organization that's based on coercion. And now we're actually seeing that this is true. Like, this is resonating with a lot of people. You know, I'm in California and there's other states that are using forced vaccines. You know, I'm like all about getting the kids out of school systems. So this is, I think, a really important time where people can start to see, like, I am a powerful being. And even according to the Declaration of Independence, over 200 years ago, we have inalienable rights that you can't have, that don't belong to you. They come from God or nature or evolution. But like, I have my right to my life and my liberty and my pursuit of happiness, which is property, right? Like these things are in my humanity. And so human beings, I think, kind of collectively feel something weird going on. And so you've been doing this for 10 years. So where do you start new people? You know, is it with the banks? Is it with the drivers? Like, how do you start people? Says, okay, Jacquie, you're right. These are a criminal organization. I want to be free. Like, what do I do? And what's a kind of the beginnings phase that you help people cross?
Well, you know, we started out around 2013. Really, we changed our focus. I mean, I've been doing this since 2004. I gave up my driver's license 2004. I'd read the codes, and that's when I gave up all that kind of stuff. My partner, Ken, he did the same thing, but we did it separately, 2 different areas in the country. And so there was a group of us, I don't know, the feeling in 2004, it was happening. And I know it happened before then, but that was kind of my era with giving stuff up. Around 2013, we saw a lot of people were not living. Their lives were stagnant. They were unable to have bank accounts. They were unable to travel to work. They are afraid to travel to work. Let's put it that way. And their lives were really on hold as a result. You know, they couldn't work. If they worked, the IRS will steal their money. They couldn't put money in a bank account. The IRS will steal their money. So, you know, how do you cash checks? How do you operate? How can you live? How can you do anything without bank accounts, without, you know, the driver's license and all the rest of it? So we started to look at that. And the idea was to assist people in, and by the way, I had 5 houses and didn't have a bank account. I was one of those people. So I always used to say, don't give me a check. So, yeah, so, you know, I fully understand that was a big problem. So we really set out to solve that problem for people. And I think we have. We can do bank accounts with no socials. We create whole new entities for people to operate their lives and interact with the system. That's part of the bridge solutions that we've come up with. And then once you have everything safe, once you have stuff out of your name, that's when you can, you know, jump straight in if you want to. Unlike me, I jumped straight in without any of the safety and security and learned the hard way. We've kind of softened the blow for people that when you actually want to give up your driver's license, when you want to give up registration. And we also, another thing that's really important, we have various processes for people who are ready at various stages. Not everybody is ready to run around with no plates and no license and deal with cops, you know. I don't talk to cops. Not everybody's ready for that yet. For those that are, fabulous. That's the way to go. I did that. And it you know, it had a lot of repercussions in my life.
Right, yeah.
I lost a lot of cars. Let's put it this way. It was so funny. Like, people would just give me cars knowing full well that, you know, when I lost, let's see how she loses this one. So, you know, I would try various ways. So that was really the idea, was to actually help those people get their lives back. And we really have. And I mean, it's just awesome when we see people who are now able to interact with the system without being part of it. Because if they were part of it, they would lose everything. The system would steal it from them.
Yeah,
so.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's very interesting, the experience and knowledge that you have. And you're the one who taught me, like, the counties don't talk to each other. You know, it's like, if you're having trouble in one county, go to another county, their systems don't speak to each other because they're their own organization. These are their own mafia, criminal organizations, and they just stay within their county, and you can leave. And it's like you said, oh, nothing on your record? Hey, but then they see your record and you're like, oh my gosh, you're a bad guy. So, I mean, these types of secrets you're going to learn at Anarchapulco. And I always feel so bad each year because I'm like, I should have told more people about this. And, you know, it's taken me 2 or 3 years, sometimes 4 years with friends. I'm like, you got to come. You got to come. This is the best event. You got to come. Not just because you're going to meet awesome people like Jacquie and find solutions, but you're going to meet other people. You know, like Jacquie wasn't a speaker in Anarcha Vegas, but she's like speaker quality. That's why we brought her. That's why we are inviting her here, because she has solutions. And there's a lot of people. You know, we got 4 stages this year. We got the family camp where Jackie's going to be. We got the crypto stage about, Bitcoin and Monero and Dash and all these different types of currencies. You have the health stage and you have the main stage. So the problem that people have is like, I don't have enough time to see everything. It's like, yes, that's just true. It's a good problem to have. And so we do have a live stream available, but I'm telling you, whenever you're watching this video, you got to make it down. And even if it's just not Anarchapulco, there's other anarcho voluntary freedom events, but the revelation, the epiphany is that the state doesn't have any authority over you. And this is what Lysander Spooner spoke about over 100 years ago. So we have technology now. We're not going to get, this published on TV or radio or things like that, because they want you to believe that like they have authority over you and it's legitimate. But you are the sovereign, actually. You are the one, and whatever you believe in, but you have all that power, and we give it away when we get a driver's license and when we sign these documents. And as she said, maybe you're not ready to pull out the driver's license or things, and this is, like I said, I'm learning about this stuff, but how do you play the game so you don't get knocked on the head and you get thrown into jail because these guys are just order followers and just doing their job? But we see what doing their job leads to, back to Nazis and the Nuremberg trial. So again, the courts, these order followers, it's not really a positive place to be, but how do you maneuver? You are a human being. You deserve love and joy and have a great life, while we're here. So how do you go about that? Jackie's going to speak about that. So I hope you come. And Jacquie, just before we cut loose, is there any final words you want to share with people who are either going to be there or not going to be there? Maybe things you're going to talk about, anything else, just closing out here?
I just want to say, I really appreciate the fact, I'm from the older generation. Actually, when I first got into this, I was one of the young ones. It was pretty funny. Everyone was older than me. And now all the old timers are pretty much dying off. And now I'm kind of the old timer and you guys are the young guys. And I'm really excited about your generation. I think that once we come together, we've got this great crypto world. And once we can incorporate that with the law aspect, that we're done. When you guys get into the correct layer and understand that, they won't keep putting you in jail. They won't be knocking you out quite as much as they have been, which has been kind of, it's terrible. I mean, think about it. All these people that go to jail and the feds have no jurisdiction whatsoever in the States. So this is crazy stuff that's going on. We need to come together, and I'm so excited about coming.
Yeah, no, we're excited to have you. I consider it a real treat that you accepted our offer to come talk. So I hope you share all these secrets with people, and people get involved with what you got going on. But if you're watching this at home, come to Anarchapulco whenever you can. Go to your freedom event and have hope despite what's going on. Stay away from the news if you can. But it's time to start building your community. And I know it's hard to get out of your comfort zone. There's various groups. There's a Anarchapulco Facebook group, and there's other platforms like Float you can get on. But humanity, this is a mass conscious awakening. Yep. People are stepping into their self-ownership. They're stepping into, okay, I can't aggress against people. This is the non-aggression principle. But if you attack me, I can use self-defense. I have that moral authority given to me by nature or God. And this is really happening. So it's not just in the U.S., it's international. I think last year there was over 20 countries represented in Anarchapulco. And so there was even Anarcha-Portugal, 2 years ago. So if you feel inspired, put a little event together, bring 50 people, get 100 people, but they're looking for leaders. Your leader, Jackie's a powerful leader. And we're so grateful for joining us on this episode of Anarchapulco TV. Keep spreading the peace and the love. And we're going to see you very soon in Anarchapulco. See you, everyone.